Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing okay. It's a rainy kind of Thursday afternoon. I'm sitting here, as you can see, in my car, and as you can see probably behind me, I'm not moving, so I am parked and the engine is off for safety. I'm having lunch and I've been thinking a lot about a couple of things lately, especially um, the last few weeks, last month and a half, 2 months have been weird, to say the least, for all of us. And I've been giving some thought to some things, and I wanted to put them down on video and share them with everybody. I'm sure I'm not the only person that's been thinking some of these things, but I hope that it gives us all a moment to maybe start considering our world in a little bit of a different way, um, especially with everything that's going on today. I apologize ahead of time because it's probably going to be a little bit scattershot. It might be a little bit disjointed, and I might jump around. But that's just kind of how my brain is, or where my mind is at these days. So the first thing I want to talk about is for all those, whether you are currently employed, whether you're not employed and have been furloughed, whether you're working from home, whether you, like me, still have to go to work. I want to ask you to think about how companies, how employers are treating their employees. I've noticed, and I read somewhere that something that really resonated with me, and I read the other day that said this environment, this situation is causing people to, kindness, people who are kind to be more kind, and those who are not to be more so. So it's kind of amplifying everybody's emotions. Those who are kind are tending to show a lot more kindness lately, or being even more kind than they normally would. Those are not are probably acting accordingly with less kindness. And think about and pay attention and notice to how companies or employers rather are treating their employees. Are they treating them with kindness? Are they treating them with empathy? Are they treating them with compassion? Or are they just treating them as just another cog in the wheel, another way to make another nickel profit? And then just keep that in the back of your head, and use that to assess whether that's somebody who you want to be involved with professionally, whether you want to be involved with doing business with, or whether you want to support as a business. Another thing I want us to talk and think about, that's been on my mind, is not just how people are being treated as employees, but also let's think about companies themselves. I think we are in a moment where things are going to change. We're going to have a shift in how business is done. We're going to see, probably in the long run, and I honestly don't know if it's going to be a sharp uptick or if it's just going to be a slow climb, where we're going to see a lot more people either embracing the work from home model, or they're going to be embracing the contract or gig economy model. I think it's just the reality. People are concerned, they are maybe frightened, they may be apprehensive about going into large groups or places where there's a lot of people, or or going out and doing stuff. So I think that's something that we're going to be seeing a lot more, and we need to be prepared. Companies need to be prepared, businesses need to be prepared on how they're going to approach that and how they're going to adapt. I think that's really the word that we need to grab onto, is adapt. How everybody's going to adapt to this new environment, this new paradigm that we're going to be living in. The other thing I want to talk about is about businesses themselves, and I remember back after 9/11, there was a big push and there was a big sort of rah-rah moment to buy American, buying, embracing the idea of buying products that were made here and supporting the economy and the businesses that were manufacturing and making stuff here in this country. And I think to a greater extent we're going to see the same thing come back, but even more so, it's going to be more localized than that. I think we're going to be seeing not just a buy American, but more importantly, buy local. We're seeing a lot of restaurants, we're seeing a lot of small businesses, a lot of mom and pop type establishments that are closing, hopefully temporarily. They're saying temporarily, and I really hope that is what's going to happen, that it's only a temporary hiccup that's causing the close. But I really hope, and it really is my genuine hope, that eventually they all come back and they are all open for business again. The reality is, unfortunately, that that's not going to be the case. There are going to be some businesses that are going to close down permanently. But for those that do open, I want to suggest the idea, especially in smaller towns and in smaller communities where it's a little bit more feasible, is to embrace the spirit of working locally. Say, for example, you have in my town, for example, where I live, there is a local bakery, and you have, of course, delis, and there's diners and pizza shops and what have you. I would love to see this bakery doing business with, for example, some of the local deli down the street, and selling them the rolls and the bread that they would use to make sandwiches and sell sandwiches, embracing that idea of working together, almost symbiotically. Poultry farms, local poultry farms selling to local businesses, whether it's chicken or eggs, or if it's a dairy, whether it's selling their milk for the coffee that they're selling. Maybe you have butcher shop and they sell meats. Then use that, buy from that butcher shop. If you're, say, a local pizza place, you buy pepperoni, I don't know, or ham for pies. Buying that from the local butcher shop. And the same goes for all kinds of different businesses. I can't think of a whole lot off the top of my head because, again, I'm sitting here about to eat my lunch. It's raining outside, kind of crummy. But the idea that we need to start working together, think of it holistically, think of it as a community. This one business is helping the other one. They're both being successful. They're both thriving, hopefully. And that's really what I would love to see happen in the next coming, weeks, months, years. It's a weird time we're living in. It's something that we've never seen before. At least I've never seen before, and I really hope that we start going to through to the other side sooner rather than later. I don't think things are ever going to go back to the way they were before. I think we're definitely seeing a tectonic shift in the way we live our lives. Another thing I wanted to talk about now that it popped in my head. Also, speaking of shifts, businesses need to start looking at ways that they can shift and adapt to the current needs. I know there's a lot of businesses that they have the capabilities, not necessarily for this week or today. That's unrealistic, but in the long run, to start thinking about ways to roll with the punches. For example, distilleries. We're seeing a lot of distilleries lately converting machineries to start producing highly concentrated alcohol, pure alcohol, so that it can be used as raw material, maybe for hand sanitizers and things like that. I think there's going to be a handful, maybe about half a dozen different businesses that are going to start thriving and are going to be increasing because people are going, that's the direction that people are going, and I don't think they're going to be going back anytime soon. Things like hand sanitizers, I'm talking about things like rubber goods like gloves and things like that. Cleaners, paper goods. Obviously, paper goods, it's a whole different animal. You have mills, you have pulps, you have different business models for industrial and commercial versus residential use. But things like hand sanitizer, things like maybe there's a condom manufacturer. They can convert some of their machinery and some of their equipment to start producing gloves and other kinds of goods that are going to become hot commodities, if you will. Same thing with cleaning companies. We're going to start to see a lot more people buying more cleaning supplies, more wet wipes, more baby wipes, more protective equipment. And in the long run, I think companies really need to start thinking about that. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. That's presuming, of course, that they have the capability to do so. Obviously, if it's not something that they've ever done or that they're into, it would not be necessarily a wise business move. But for distilleries, for specifically starting to produce raw materials that can be used for things like hand sanitizer, or even shifting into producing some of their own hand sanitizer, I'm sure that there is something to be said about the brand equity of a company, say like Jack Daniels, manufacturing Jack Daniels hand sanitizer, or Maker's Mark, leaves no marks, I don't know, or Aviation Gin, or who happens to be fantastic in their social media marketing, maybe even vodka companies. All these distilleries, all these alcohol producers can shift into making more alcohol that can be used for things like hand sanitizing and for sanitizing products. And we've seen that in a smaller scale, but I believe that that's something that can be scaled up, and ultimately it could be a viable business model that they could expand into. And let's face it, we've seen the run on things like Purell and toilet paper and paper towels. That's not going to go away. I think people have now reached I don't want to call it a fever pitch, but they've reached that point where they're going to, that's going to become a new product that they're going to be purchasing again and again and again and again in much higher quantities. I think people are going to start carrying Purell. They're going to start keeping a bottle in the car. They're going to start keeping one at home, one at work. They're going to carry one in their purse or what have you. And companies need to start anticipating, if they're not already, how they're going to meet that consumer demand. So, it's raining a little bit heavier now. I haven't eaten my lunch. I probably should, because I'm going to have to go back to work in a little bit. But I just wanted to put this on video and share it with everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're keeping yourself safe. I hope you're following the guidelines, the suggestions that are being put out there by people like the CDC and by government organizations and people who are experts in the field, and don't fall into the hysteria trap of all these weird snake oil remedies. So listen to the science, listen to the data, listen to the information, follow those guidelines, be well, be safe, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. And since I'm taping this on what's today, Monday, Thursday, so it's right before Easter, I hope you all have a very happy Passover and a happy Easter. or whatever holiday you may celebrate. And if you don't, have an awesome weekend. So take care.